Howdy, folks. Woody Wallace from NeedCoffee.com here. Back again for another Wayhomer review. Here's how it works for the uninitiated. I have just left the cinema, is that back over there, where I've seen a film. I'm going to tell you about that film on my way home, because it just saves time like that. So yes, we're here today to talk about A Dangerous Method. Okay, so, synopsis. So, the gist is this. You've got the Dr. Young, he's not a young doctor, he's just young. That's his name. And he is kind of a disciple of Freud. And Freud pioneered what they call the talking cure, which is basically just talking through, I don't even know if I can go through there. Talking through the, one second. No, I can't get through here. There's a dumpster blocking the way. Yes, there's the dumpster. That's not a CG dumpster, folks. That's a real dumpster. It's a practical dumpster. We did not add a dumpster in post. Anyway, so basically Freud pioneered this method of talking to patients and trying to talk them through their problems and cure them through talking. And from the perspective of Jung, Freud wasn't doing too much with it, but Jung had a new patient in this seemingly crazed young Russian woman who basically needed something. And you find out what. But takes this opportunity to try out the talking cure, and things go from there. So you have the relationship between Jung and Freud, and you have the relationship between Jung and this Russian woman, and things progress from there through the years. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's basically this kind of not triangle thing between the three of them that is the focus of the film. Now, here's the thing to bear in mind. First of all, it's a David Cronenberg film, and Cronenberg is interesting in that we are talking about the same director who, originally started off as a, basically a body horror director. This is the guy who did the remake of The Fly, and he has since graduated into doing serious cinema. And had stuff like, among other things, Eastern Promises, which was just an incredibly solid film. So he's got a fascinating arc as a filmmaker. But, so you've got him on board, and you've got Viggo Mortensen, my nemesis, yes, because he blows the bell curve for every male on the planet, but so be it. You've got Keira Knightley, and you've got Michael Fassbender, who appears to have been in, 6 or 7 films this year? It's just kind of insane. Anyway, so what you've got is, in working the relationships between these three main characters, you've got Viggo Mortensen, who basically vanishes into the role of Freud. You probably, I don't know if you would recognize him if you didn't know it was him, because he's just so into it, right? Which is a good thing. Keira Knightley, which, although they don't do, she doesn't get the nose and a beard or anything, but still, she has a transformative role in that she's playing a mad woman who, because Keira Knightley, gotta love her, she's attractive, but she is a bit of a stick, right? I sometimes was worried in her thrashing around that her head was going to pop off, because, she just looks a little frail, the poor thing. Anyway, so you've got the two of them. You've got Vincent Cassel, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not. Who comes in for a short while, and while he is not, disappeared into the role, he is at least engaging and interesting in what he's doing. So you've got these three actors over here, and you've got Michael Fassbender playing Jung. And here's where the problem comes in. Because this film is supposed to be about, basically it is focused on the character of Jung, I didn't give a damn about this guy. I mean, and it wasn't anything necessarily to do with Fassbender's performance, because let me just point out, I know very little about the personal lives of Freud and Jung, and I know this is based on a book and based on a stage play, and they brought in probably letters that were based on, letters from the book and stuff like that. So this is all pretty much, I would assume, grounded in some form of reality, pretty close. But I don't know any of this. So I just, what I walked away from the film figuring out was, wow, I had no idea Jung was such a prick. Because that's basically, to me, what the message of the film was. Is that, Freud may have thought that everything was a penis, but he wasn't himself a prick. Maybe that's the message. I don't know. So I don't know that it's Michael Fassbender's fault, because he's just sort of there and playing this straight man to everybody else who seems to have a more interesting character. And I'm sitting there going, why isn't the film about you? Why isn't the film about anybody but this prick, right? So that's what I found disappointing, is that the main character I could not engage with at all. Now, that may be just me, and maybe other people will, not have the same problem. But I just couldn't give a damn about this guy. And his personal life and his problems and everything, because and it wasn't even like, how some characters, it's just, maybe that'll help, I don't know. Some characters have bad things happen to them, but you care about them, so you don't necessarily want bad things to happen to them. And other characters, they're just dicks, and you just don't care. You're just like, well, no wonder your life is going so poorly, because you're such an ass. So that was my problem with the character, and as a result, my problem with the film is because, if he's the center figure, then I just don't care. And the film itself had some problems. There's a sequence in which, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything, because honestly, it's not that important. It seemed like most of the film wasn't important, right? It goes, okay, we're going to America. And then all of a sudden, they're back in Switzerland. And it's like, well, why did you go to all the trouble of showing them going to America? The conversation they had while going to America, they could have had on a train. They could have had in Butte, Montana. They could have had anywhere. It wouldn't have mattered. But yet you have them going to America, and we're confused when, whoa, wait a minute, now they're back in Switzerland. You have a situation in which something happens to a character that looks like it's something very bad. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, maybe this is where bad thing happens to this guy, right? No, he's fine later on. Why did that happen? Why are these things happening? It feels like, it honestly felt like this could have been a really interesting miniseries if it were focused on interesting people instead of Jung. And I'm not saying, for anybody who's like a Jung enthusiast, I would love to know what you think about this, because maybe they got it wrong and Jung is like an awesome guy. I have no idea. But based on what I know from this film, because having gone to an Alabama public school, I'm lucky I, know that Jung is spelled with a J, for God's sake. He's a prick. So that made the film a bit disappointing, to say the least. I mean, that's pretty much it. It told the story. It told a chapter of the lives of these three people, and seemed like it wanted to sort of tell the birth of psychoanalysis and focus on the rift between these two characters, but instead it seemed to want to go into their personal lives to the point where it almost felt like it was trying to do too much with too little time. And thus was pleasing to nobody. I don't know. It's probably pleasing to some people. So, I mean, based on the strength of the performances, I'm not sure as far as a cup rating goes. I'll have to think about it. I mean, I am on the fence. And my rating is on the fence, because it could go... I could see it. Normally it would be much lower, but the performances were very strong. And so right now I'm leaning towards a 2.5. If I'm, feeling generous, maybe a 3. So I would say come to the site and see, because I'm going to have to ponder this a little bit more. Should you see it? Probably not. I mean, yes, if you are interested in the history of psychoanalysis, then I'm sure there's a book or a documentary that probably does a better job of taking you through that. If you would like to see a fictionalized version of it, then catch a matinee if you must, or honestly, you'd probably be fine waiting for it on DVD, because this really isn't a film that screams big screen. So, there you have it. A rather disappointing turn. Hopefully the next one that we catch will be better. But, again, the performances that I did like were really, really good. So there you have it. There's another Wayhomer in the tank, so to speak, as we crawl out of Atlanta into the rest of civilization. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully this informs your movie-going habits. If you do like these, please let somebody know. Spread the word. We appreciate that because we like to know. We like it when people let us know that they like what we're doing, because then we have a tendency to do more of that. It's a crazy reward thing, you know. That's how I'm sure Freud would agree, or call it a penis. Anyway, so until next time, we will see you then. Bye. I honestly think that a nice thesis for somebody, probably not anybody who actually wants to do well with the thesis, but a nice thesis for somebody would be to apply what Jung and Freud, respectively, would think of an episode of Weekend Justice. Because God knows there's a lot of sex in there. Bye.